Hello everyone, it is Mr. Ranieri here, and we are going to learn how to use map with an Arduino. Before I show you how to do it, let's talk about the problem that we're trying to solve. In Arduino, you can read values in, analog values, for example from a servo tester or from a FlySky receiver like this one. In fact, both of these, a servo tester and a FlySky receiver signal, are the same kind of signal, a PWM signal. This one is if you're controlling your Arduino through remote control, for example. So you're getting data into the Arduino, values into the Arduino, and you also might want to output something, for example, to control a servo motor, or with a motor shield to control a DC brushed motor. But often, the numbers that you need for the output are different. They're in a different kind of range. So we have this function called map that can take in a number, convert it to a different range. So then you can use it for something else. Let's see how it works. The documentation is here on map on the Arduino website. You just Google Arduino map and then you get the documentation on how to use it. And I'll show you a visual example of how to use it up here. So here's a little demo that I made where I can play with the 5 different numbers that go into map. When you're putting something into map, the first thing is some sort of input, so the number going in, and the range that that input is. In this case, my input is 60. I've got a number 60 going in, and that number is designed to be in the range of 40 to 80. You can see it's currently about halfway in that range. Then you tell it the output range, the range that you want to output to. So we're going from a range of 40 to 60, and we're going to convert that to a range from 10 to 90. So then, what you'll get as an answer for map is a function, you give it some information, and it will return an answer to you that you can save in a variable. In this case, I've called the variable output. It will return a number that's in that output range, in the range, in this case, from 10 to 90. So here, in this case, I'm halfway between 40 and 80, so the result will end up being halfway between 10 and 90. If the input was all the way earlier, all the way as low as the value could go, I've said here that I'm going from 40 to 80 as an input, well, I'm all the way down here. I'm at the very, very start of the input range. So the output will be at the very, very start of the output range. Notice that the output range goes from 10 to 90. So the output will be 10. Likewise, if I move my value towards the right and go all the way to the top, the very top, the high end of the input range. So I'm going to put it right near, but maybe not quite, right near the high value. So it's almost at the very, very top of that 80, that 40 to 80 input range, well, we'd expect the output to be very, very close to 90, and indeed it is. So you can see how you might use this. Let's say that your value input goes from, 10 to 20. So you've got a really sensitive input where all of the values you could possibly get range from 10 to 20, but maybe whatever output device you're using, you want to go from 0 and scale it up all the way to 100. Well, we'd expect if my value was halfway, like 15, then it will get output to 50. Likewise, if my value was way on the higher end of this input range, right near that 20, then I'm going to end up in my output at 100. Let's have a look how this looks in code in Arduino. As an example, suppose that I have a sensor value here, and you can see this one goes from, about 900 up to about 2200. Well, I can make a new variable. The type of this variable will be int for an integer. I might call it output because it's the number coming out. It's a scaled version. And I'm going to map. The first thing that goes into map is whatever the actual value is, the input value. In this case, the sensor value from the servo tester. And then I say the expected minimum value for that, which in my case is about 900. And then I say the expected maximum value,
which is, well, 2,139. Let's say that the maximum value is 2,200. And then I say what range I want to scale it to. Because it's a bit odd, isn't it, that the smallest value is 900 and the largest is 2,200. That's not a sensible range. As an example of how I could scale it, let's scale it to the range between, I don't know, maybe 10 and 20. That means the smallest sensor value, when it's about 900, will get scaled to about 10, and halfway would be 15, and all the way would get scaled to 20. To make it easier to see what's going on, I will move this print statement here. I will get rid of the line so I don't print an enter at the end of it. And then I will print the output. Finally, I will print an empty line that has nothing. So this here is an empty string. It's a string that has nothing at all. And this says print it with an enter at the end. This won't be perfect, but it will be a good start. Let's upload this, and what I would expect is that when it's all the way to the left, I want it to print 10, and when it's all the way to the right, I want it to print 20. Let's see. Whoa! I think it worked, but it's a bit hard to see what's going on because the sensor value, the input, is right next to the output. I think the last two digits here are the output and the rest are the input. It's hard to see when one number starts and the other ends. So between them, let's put in a comma. You could put in any message here, like for example, I will put hello just to prove a point. You could put any string here, any text. This is a literal string, it's exactly the word hello, whereas this is a variable. There we go, that's better. So now when I put it all the way to the left, just like I said, when the sensor value is close to the minimum, it outputs this output minimum value, which is 10. And at halfway, it's 15. And when it's all the way to the right, it gets closer and closer to 20. Finally, while I'm here, I'll show you a cool tool. If I did a comma instead, because I guess it's a bit strange to separate the numbers with the word hello, let's separate them with a comma instead. There we go. We should be able to use the serial plotter, I hope. There we go. Neat. So what this does is it graphs both of the things. You can see the first number, because it goes from about 900 to about just over 2,000. You can see that one is in blue, and the other one, it's kind of hard to see the other one. It doesn't really change much, because it only ever changes from 10 to 20. You can barely even see it, but you can see it move a bit. In fact, if I turn off that first number and only graph that second number, the one that goes between 10 and 20, you can see I can have a look at that. So this is a useful way to graph two different things. You print the first one, and then you print a comma, and then you print the second one, and then you just print a new line with an empty string, and that will print an enter. All right, map takes some getting used to how it works, but I hope this has been helpful. Ask me questions, and I'll help you out. See you in the next video, everyone.